Britain buys more frozen chips than any other frozen product in the freezer aisle, and nobody cares to read the bag. 6 of the brands in this investigation add sugar to make browning look natural. One declares no potato content on the pack at all. Another hides its additive stack behind a homestyle promise it cannot keep. 2 bags on this list contain 3 ingredients, the rest contain a manufacturing problem dressed as a dinner. A genuine frozen chip needs 3 ingredients or fewer: potato, oil, salt. If the list runs beyond 5, every extra entry is solving a problem created by the processing, not improving your dinner. That is the rule this video runs on. Keep it in your head for every brand that follows. We are starting with the brand in more British freezers than any other. It has some explaining to do. Brand 1, McCain oven chips, the yellow bag, the familiar logo, the chip most British families would name without thinking. McCain did not just build a product, it built a category. For decades, oven chips and McCain have been the same word in most British households. That kind of recognition does not happen by accident. It happens when a brand becomes so embedded in the weekly shop that the bag never gets turned over. That is precisely the moment to start turning it over. Read the ingredient list from the first entry to the last. Potato, fine, expected. Then vegetable oil, also expected. Then dextrose. Dextrose is a sugar derived from wheat or corn, added here not for flavor but for browning. The picture on the front of the bag shows a golden, evenly colored chip. The potato content alone is not producing that color. The dextrose is. McCain declare potato content at approximately 73% on standard oven chips. That figure deserves a moment. Nearly 3 in every 10 grams coming out of that bag is not potato. Oil, dextrose, and processing requirements make up the rest. Then come the raising agents: disodium dihydrogen diphosphate, sodium bicarbonate, not seasoning, texture engineering. Added to produce a crunch profile, the potato content alone cannot generate reliably at volume. To McCain's credit, the potato content percentage is declared on pack. In a category where several competitors do not bother, that transparency is worth acknowledging plainly. The information is there. Most shoppers never reach it. For families with children eating oven chips several times a week, the dextrose and raising agent stack is a quiet and consistent presence in a meal most parents consider one of the simpler choices available. Not a crisis. A detail that has never been required to introduce itself. The bag is familiar. What is inside it is more complicated than the picture suggests. The category leader set the standard. Every brand that follows borrowed the same logic and made different choices about what to tell you. Brand 2, Tesco oven chips, the own label default, the sensible choice. The bag most regular Tesco shoppers reach for when McCain feels like an unnecessary expense. Own label products carry a specific assumption in the British supermarket. Simpler, fewer additives, the brand premium stripped away to leave just the product. In this aisle, that assumption is doing significant work. It is not always earning it. Pull the bag off the shelf. Turn it over. The potato content percentage is absent from the front of pack entirely. Not declared, not buried in small print. Simply not there. A shopper standing in that aisle has no way of knowing from the front of this bag what proportion of it is actually potato. The ingredient list includes dextrose. It includes raising agents. It includes a stabilizer not present in the McCain equivalent sitting directly beside it. The additive count on the Tesco standard oven chip is higher than its branded competitor at a lower price point. That is the assumption this aisle relies on. Own label means simpler. Here it means the opposite. The price per 100 grams is lower than McCain. The potato content is lower. The additive count is higher. The saving is real. What it is buying is a product with more processing, not less. To Tesco's credit, the Finest range tells a genuinely different story. Shorter ingredient list, higher potato content, a product that reflects the premium the packaging implies. The standard own label and the finest tier are not versions of the same product, different formulations wearing the same supermarket logo. One budget-conscious shopper on a UK grocery forum described assuming own label always meant fewer ingredients than the branded equivalent. They said turning over the Tesco chip bag and counting the additives next to a McCain bag was the last time they made that assumption without checking. For weekly shoppers who reach for own label as the considered and careful choice, the gap between that assumption and the actual formulation is worth knowing. The branded equivalent on the same shelf declares its potato content. The own label does not. A lower price and a higher additive count is not a trade-off most shoppers knowingly make. In this aisle, it is the default one. Is the own label option in your freezer actually the simpler choice? Subscribe and we will keep checking the bags. The supermarket hopes you never turn over. The own label default is not what it implies. The next brand has been implying something far more specific for decades. It calls itself homestyle. The ingredient list has a different word for it. Brand 3 Aunt Bessie's homestyle chips. Homestyle. That word is doing a considerable amount of work on the front of this bag. It implies a kitchen. It implies a decision made by someone who cared about the result. It implies that somewhere between the potato and your plate, choices were made that a factory line would not make on its own. It implies Sunday afternoons and a particular smell from the oven, the kind of chip that arrives at the table looking like somebody made it rather than manufactured it. Check the ingredient list, find where that story stops holding up. Potato, vegetable oil, then dextrose, a sugar derived from wheat or corn, added specifically to promote browning. Not something a home cook reaches for, not something that appears in any scratch chip recipe, not something with any culinary purpose beyond compensating for what the potato base cannot achieve on its own at this formulation level. The word homestyle describes a visual outcome, a chip that looks like it came from a home kitchen. The dextrose is what produces that look when the potato content cannot deliver it without assistance. The name and the ingredient are doing opposite jobs simultaneously. Then come the raising agents, then the emulsifier. A home cook making chips from scratch uses a potato, an oven, and oil. Three things. The Aunt Bessie's homestyle chip requires considerably more than that to arrive at the result the name implies. Each additional entry on that list is solving a problem the homestyle positioning pretends does not exist. Aunt Bessie's is owned by Nomad Foods, the same parent company that owns Birdseye, a pan-European frozen food corporation managing multiple household brands across several categories simultaneously. The homestyle positioning is a brand decision made within that corporate structure, not a kitchen philosophy. To Aunt Bessie's credit, the functional result is reliable. The chip cooks consistently, browns adequately, and delivers the texture the format promises. On its own terms, the product does what it says. The question is whether what it says on the front reflects what it took to make it work. The potato content percentage is not declared on this pack. The name tells you it is homestyle. The back of the bag tells you it required dextrose, raising agents, and an emulsifier to get there. Now, those two pieces of information are available on the same bag, only one of them is on the front. For shoppers aged 45 and over who associate this brand with straightforward, dependable frozen food, the gap between the name and the formulation is not a catastrophe. A quiet misalignment that has been sitting on that bag for years without anyone being required to point it out. Homestyle is a word on the front. What is actually inside required considerably more than a home to produce. Those two things are not describing the same product. Brand 4, Lidl oven chips, 39p or thereabouts. The exact price shifts, but the positioning never does. Lidl frozen chips sit at the bottom of the price range in this investigation. The bag communicates that without apology. No premium language, no heritage claim, no homestyle promise, just chips at a price that makes scrutiny feel unnecessary, almost impolite. The scrutiny is exactly what this bag needs. Turn it over, find the ingredient list: potato leads, then vegetable oil, then dextrose, then 2 separate raising agents, then a stabilizer, then an emulsifier. The Lidl standard oven chip carries one of the longest additive lists in this entire investigation. At this price point, that length is not surprising. It is the explanation for the price. The potato content percentage is not declared anywhere on the pack. The front tells you the weight of the bag and the cooking instructions. It does not tell you how much of that weight is the ingredient the bag is named after. That information is not required to appear prominently, so it does not appear at all. Consider what that additive list is actually doing. Dextrose producing the browning the potato base cannot deliver alone. Raising agents engineering the texture. The stabilizer holding structural integrity through freezing, distribution, and reheating. The emulsifier managing oil distribution through the cooking process. Not one of them is improving the chip. Every one of them is maintaining the appearance of one. A product that requires 6 additive solutions to look and behave like a chip is not a simpler product than one requiring 3. It is a more complicated one wearing a simpler price tag. The price is low because the potato content is supplemented by a formulation doing the work a higher potato content would otherwise need to do. Those are not separate facts. They are the same fact looked at from 2 directions. To Lidl's credit, chip cooks within the stated time and produces a result consistent with what the packaging implies. The functional delivery is not in question. What the price is actually buying, entry by entry down that list, is a different question entirely. The additive stack in this bag is the most extensive of any brand in this investigation. It is also the cheapest bag on the shelf. Those 2 facts are directly connected. If the aisle were designed to make the honest option the affordable one, this bag would look different. For budget shoppers and students managing a tight weekly spend, this is often the only option that fits the number, a failure of the category, not the shopper. The cheapest chip in this investigation has the longest ingredient list. That is not a coincidence. It is a manufacturing equation. Brand 5, Aldi Chip Shop chips. Chip shop, 2 words. Doing an enormous amount of work, not oven chips, not frozen chips. Chip shop chips, the specific language of a Friday night, of vinegar and newspaper, of something bought over a counter rather than pulled from a freezer. The branding is precise and deliberate. Borrowing the credibility of a tradition it has nothing structurally to do with. Pull the bag out of the freezer. Read the front first. Chip shop chips, the image reinforces it. Golden, thick, the suggestion of a proper chippy in a bag you can make at home. Now turn it over. Potato leads, then vegetable oil, then dextrose. Present again. The same sugar producing the same browning effect seen in McCain, in Aunt Bessie's, in Lidl. The chip shop color is not coming from a fryer at the right temperature. Not from the right cooking time. It is coming from a sugar added to compensate for a process that cannot replicate the original without assistance. Then come the raising agents, then the stabilizer. The additive stack here does not differ meaningfully from the standard oven chip sitting beside it at a lower price. The format is different. The formulation logic is not. The potato content percentage is not declared on this pack. In a product positioned as something more authentic than a standard oven chip, that absence is worth noting. A genuine chip shop chip is potato and oil. The percentage does not need declaring because it is self-evidently the entire product. Here, the percentage goes undeclared. That silence communicates something. The chip shop range sits within Aldi's premium own label positioning. The price reflects a step up from the standard Aldi equivalent. The formulation does not reflect that step up in any meaningful way. To Aldi's credit, the chip shop format does produce a noticeably different texture. Thicker, a different surface crunch. That eating experience distinction is real. The ingredient architecture behind it is where the higher tier positioning stops being justified. For Aldi shoppers who reach for this range, believing the branding reflects a genuinely different product, the gap between that belief and the back of the bag is the issue, not the price. not the texture, the distance between what chip shop implies and what the label confirms. The price went up. The formulation logic did not follow it. Check the back of your budget supermarket's premium chip bag right now. What is the third ingredient? Drop it below. Brand 6, Tesco Finest Chunky Chips. Finest. That word carries weight in a Tesco aisle. The signal that this product sits above the standard tier, that the sourcing is better, that paying more within your regular supermarket is buying something meaningfully different from what sits below it on the same shelf. The Finest range has built genuine credibility across multiple Tesco categories. In some of them, that credibility is earned. In others, it is borrowed from the tier positioning and applied to products that do not fully justify it. Pull the bag from the shelf, check the weight, then check the price per 100 grams against the standard Tesco oven chip covered earlier in this video. The price difference is significant. The ingredient difference is narrower than that gap implies. The Tesco Finest Chunky Chip carries a higher potato content than the standard own label equivalent. The list is shorter, no emulsifier, fewer raising agents. On a straight ingredient comparison, this is a better product than the standard Tesco oven chip. That much is accurate and worth stating clearly. The question is whether better than the standard tier is the same thing as genuinely good. Dextrose is still present. The browning on a Tesco Finest Chunky Chip is still being assisted by a sugar the potato content alone cannot deliver without help. A shorter list with dextrose still in it is a shorter list, not a clean one. The potato content sits higher than the standard equivalent, still not declared prominently on the front of pack. A shopper paying the finest price cannot tell from the front of this bag what percentage of it is potato. Reading the small print is required, then the calculation, then the comparison. None of that is designed to be easy. To Tesco Finest's credit, the chunky format delivers a noticeably different eating experience. More potato in each bite. A surface that crisps without the uniform artificial browning visible in the standard tier. The shorter list reflects a real, if partial, step toward a cleaner product. That improvement is genuine and deserves to be said plainly. For shoppers who trade up within Tesco wanting something better on occasion, this delivers on that promise relative to the standard tier. The issue is not the comparison downward. Against what a frozen chip with genuinely clean credentials looks like, this tier is still carrying compromises a product at this price should not need to make. A higher tier should close the gap between a manufactured product and a real one. Here it narrows it. Narrowing and closing are not the same distance. The Finest label is on the front for a reason. So is the dextrose on the back. Both true at the same time. Only one of them is prominent. Go and check the frozen chip bag in your freezer right now. Chances are significant that what is in there is one of the 6 brands in this video. Not bad luck. A freezer aisle built on dextrose, raising agents, and potato content percentages nobody is encouraged to calculate. The shopper was never careless. The aisle was never designed to make the honest choice visible. A genuine frozen chip needs 3 ingredients: potato, oil, salt. If the list runs beyond 5, the extra entries are solving a manufacturing problem, not improving your dinner. Check your bag. Drop the 3rd ingredient in the comments below. 2 brands prove the list can stop at 3. Here is what that looks like. Safe. Pick one, Waitrose. Essential frozen chips. Open the bag before anything else. Read the ingredient list before the oven is even on, before the tray comes out, before the cooking instructions get a second glance. The ingredient list on this bag earns its place in this video in under 5 seconds. Potato, sunflower oil, salt. 3 ingredients. That is the entire list. Not 3 ingredients followed by a bracket containing 4 more. Not 3 recognizable entries before the dextrose arrives. 3 ingredients from the first entry to the last. The same 3 things a home cook would reach for on a weeknight without giving the process a second thought. No dextrose. The browning on this chip comes from the potato itself. Natural sugars in the potato caramelize under oven heat the way they are supposed to. Not because a manufactured sugar was added to compensate for a deficit, because the potato content is high enough to deliver that result without assistance. No raising agents, the texture is not engineered. It develops through the cooking process rather than being predetermined by a stabilizer holding a structure the potato base alone could not maintain. No emulsifier. The oil behaves the way oil in a potato behaves, not the way oil managed by an emulsifier behaves. Pull a chip from the oven at the stated time. Hold it for a moment before eating. The surface is different to every brand in the avoid section, not uniform, not artificially consistent batch to batch. Some edges catch slightly, some surfaces blister, where the natural sugars have caramelized under direct heat without anything moderating the process. The color is uneven in the way a real potato produces when it cooks, without a formulation engineering a predetermined result. That inconsistency is not a flaw, it is the evidence. One food-conscious parent described switching to this product after reading about dextrose in frozen chips during a school food education session. They said the first thing they noticed was that the chips did not all look identical coming out of the oven. Some browned more than others, some edges caught slightly. They said it was the first time a frozen chip had behaved like a potato rather than a product. The price per bag is higher than McCain, higher than the Tesco standard own label, and significantly higher than the Lidl equivalent, worth stating plainly. A bag of 3-ingredient frozen chips costs more to produce than a bag of 7-ingredient frozen chips. The potato content is higher, the processing is simpler. Simpler processing at higher potato content is not cheaper at the scale a supermarket freezer aisle demands. For food-conscious shoppers and parents who read labels carefully and want a frozen chip that behaves like a potato, rather than a manufactured approximation of one, this product is the direct answer. 3 ingredients. The list begins and ends with things that belong in a kitchen. That is the only credential this bag needs. Safe pick. 2 homemade oven chips using fresh Maris Piper potatoes. This one does not come in a bag. The second safe pick in this investigation is not a product. It is a process. And the reason it belongs here alongside a supermarket brand is that the argument for making your own chips is stronger than the freezer aisle has ever been willing to admit. 1 ingredient, the potato. Everything else, the oil, the salt, the seasoning if you choose it, is a decision rather than a manufacturing requirement. Nothing on a homemade chip compensates for a deficit in the primary ingredient. Nothing solves a problem created by scale, volume, or cost pressure. The potato is doing all the work because the potato is the entire product. Here is what that looks like in the oven. Slice a Maris Piper into chip-sized pieces. Skin on or off. Toss in a tablespoon of sunflower oil. Season with salt. Into a hot oven at 200 degrees for 30 to 35 minutes, turning once halfway through. What comes out does not look like the picture on any bag in this investigation. Some edges catch, some surfaces blister, where the natural sugars have caramelized under direct heat without anything moderating the process. The color is uneven, the texture varies between the thicker pieces and the thinner ones, and this is what a chip is supposed to look like. The uniformity across every bag in the avoid section is not quality, it is engineering. The variation in a homemade chip is not a flaw. It is the potato behaving like a potato. The pricing argument is not sentimental, it is mathematical. A kilogram of Maris Piper potatoes produces enough chips for 4 people. The cost per serving sits below McCain, below Aunt Bessie's, below Tesco Finest, and comparable to or below the Aldi chip shop range. The assumption that frozen means affordable and fresh means expensive does not survive contact with the actual numbers. The only brands in this investigation cheaper per serving than a homemade chip are the Lidl and Tesco standard own label entries. Both carry the longest additive lists in the investigation to get there. For home cooks and households who never considered fresh as a practical weeknight option, the numbers above are the reason to reconsider. A knife, a tray, and 35 minutes. No dextrose required, no raising agent, no stabilizer holding a structure the potato could not maintain on its own. Because there is no structure problem to solve it, there is only a potato. One ingredient, no percentage to declare, no additive solving a problem the potato could not handle alone. Because there is no problem, there is only a potato. McCain, dextrose where transparency should be. Tesco own label, more additives than the branded bag beside it. Aunt Bessie's, homestyle branding, factory formulation. Lidl, 39 pence, 7 ingredients. Aldi chip shop, premium positioning, standard logic. Tesco Finest, better than the tier below, not better enough. One manufacturing equation, 6 different bags. Dextrose doing the browning, raising agents engineering the texture. Potato content percentages nobody is encouraged to calculate. The freezer aisle was never designed to make any of that visible. 2 products, chose differently. One with 3 ingredients, one with 1. Both proving the equation was always a choice rather than a necessity. A genuine frozen chip needs 3 ingredients or fewer: potato, oil, salt. If the list runs beyond 5, every extra entry is solving a problem created by the processing. Not improving your dinner. Is the first ingredient on your chip bag actually potato? Does the price reflect the potato content or the additive stack compensating for it? Do you know what dextrose is doing in a bag that calls itself homestyle? Share this with the person in your household who pulls a chip bag from the freezer without turning it over. They deserve to know what is making those chips brown. What is the third ingredient on the chip bag in your freezer right now? Drop it in the comments. Still reading the front of the bag and ignoring the back? Subscribe, and we will keep finding what the packaging buries in the small print. The same dextrose hiding in your chip bag is doing identical work in your frozen roast potatoes. That investigation is next.